exciting. Oh, this is very exciting. Now, I have had delivery of my new bowler hat that I ordered on a bit of a whim after making that video you may have seen a couple of days ago. Do you remember my old bowler hat? Here it is. Let's see. There we go. It's quite an ancient one. It's seen better days and it's a little bit knackered. I still love it, but I have bought myself a new one from Village Hats, hatsandcaps.co.uk. Now I bought a pith helmet from them about, oh my goodness, 4.5 years ago when I first started doing the Bald Explorer stuff. I've never actually worn it, I don't think, in any of the videos because it was really there as part of a set dressing. Because I thought it would be taking the pith. I'll link to the video because I did an unboxing of that hat, and if you're in the market for a pith helmet, these people are very, very good and nice people to deal with, very prompt as well. So I'm happy to give them a little bit of credence. And by the way, I'm not paid at all to say any of this. It's a company I've dealt with once before and they seemed okay. So let's see if this time we have the same sort of thing. So let's take off the wrappings. Oh, I see, and here it is. This is the new bowler hat. It does look very well made. I'm very impressed with it. It's beautifully lined on the inside. I'll show you a better close-up in a sec. And it's got a nice feel about it. It feels very firm. Seems to be beautifully well made. Actually, a lot better than I thought. I thought I was getting one of those soft wool felt hats that was very much just for stage purposes rather than for wearing. So I'm already impressed. Now, the moment of truth, of course, is I've measured my head 56 centimetres, which I think was something like 6 7/8, if I remember rightly, in old money. Almost a size 7, but not quite. So this is 56. Let's see if I manage to get that right. That feels good. That feels, it's not too tight, it's not too loose. I've recently shaved my head, and that's a thing actually when it comes to wearing hats, because as the hair grows throughout the day it becomes a little bit like Velcro for hats and things, and so it gives it even a firmer grip. When I've shaved my head it becomes very shiny, which I shouldn't really have done that, but that feels really nice. And it feels like it's pretty firmly on there, but without stopping the blood flow. So that's nice. Now, let me compare it with the older hat. So this is this one. Let's try this old battered thing, which actually I notice is a bit higher, taller, I suppose. Let's try that. Yeah, that one feels, I don't know, that feels a little tighter, perhaps a bit firmer on the head. But in many ways, this is a bit more comic, I suppose, because it's battered and because it's taller. Let's go back to the new one and see what we think. This one I feel is a bit more stylish and a bit more modern, a bit more up to date. And part of my new style, what I'm trying to do is to get a retro look rather than an absolutely 100% vintage look. I've mentioned that before, I know. I think that because if you go down the vintage route, you then are open to a lot of people saying, oh, that's not 100% right, you should have got this and you should have got that. Whereas if all you're doing is saying, look, I'm looking back at the image and the style of the place, but I want to still be up to date, I think it gives you a lot more leeway. Plus you can mix and match different styles. So I'm happy with that. But I'm very pleased. I am very pleased with that. Fantastic. So I'll link to the other video. You'll be able to check that out. I also wanted to show you another little purchase that I've got recently. I've been trying to find some trousers rather than jeans. So I wanted to move away from jeans. It's too modern for me. Now I know that jeans came over from America, what, in the 50s and 60s, something like that. And there's nothing wrong with jeans. They're perfectly well. I wear jeans all the time. However, for my English quest and Englishness, I thought I really want to sort of go back to 40s, pre-40s. And again, it's a retro look, not necessarily an absolute 100% vintage look. And so I've plumped for some moleskin trousers here. This is a colour called Tobacco, which I rather like. Still got the label on. They only came yesterday, actually. And I thought I'd just share them with you, see what you reckon. And also, I've got these. I love these. Beautiful, rather striking colour. These are a sort of burgundy colour. It's a lovely feel, moleskin. They're obviously not made out of the skins of moles. That would be ridiculous. But they're quite thick. They have a beautiful feel. They're very warm. When we come to the summer, of course, I probably go back to some shorts, and I'll be looking for some retro style shorts or something like that. But I really like these. I think they're going to look rather nice. Completes up the old outfit a little bit. So I'm very thrilled with that. And what with the bowler hat, I won't be wearing the bowler hat all the time. It depends on where I'm going and what I'm doing. But it's just a bit of fun, really. It's just a bit of fun in my quest for Englishness and exploring England. So yeah, I'm very happy. I don't want to get too carried away and then start carrying a cane and, you know, snuff and all of that sort of stuff. But it might be worth investigating that at some point. Yes, I've changed. And we're in my front room. It's a little time late. In fact, it's the next day as I'm filming, because I wanted to do this bit when I haven't got one of my Vobes shows or anything else, a commitment in the evening, because I am preparing to do something a bit different in my world. So, oh, by the way, you may remember I made this wonderful little table, here in front of me. I've waxed, the room smells. I've put some beeswax furniture polish on the top, and not only has it come up very lovely, but also the room just smells. It's so nice. I love that smell. So one of the things I'm trying to do in my quest for England and Englishness is this go back in time and look at how people used to do things. And I would very much love to experience things, not necessarily forever, not all the time, but it would be great to get hold of. I don't know if anyone's got one or could lend me one or would know where to get one. An old tin bath. I just have this idea of sitting in front of the Essie in a tin bath and going through the motions of trying to heat the water and filling it up and just experience what that was like. But anyway, that is for another video. At the moment, as you can see, I've got an old hurricane lamp. I used to think they were called Tilly lamps, but I think they're hurricane lamps, these particular ones. And I've got some candlestick holders. I was hoping to find those candlestick holders, you know, the sort of wee willy winky ones that have a little brass plate that collect the fallen wax that you see in the old Victorian pictures that you hold with a little hook. I did have one, but I have scoured my house high and low and I could not find it. I have some candles and I have a funnel and matches. Yes, you probably guessed what I'm up to. So I'm waiting now for it to get dark because I want to experience what it was like in the old days when we didn't have electric lights. I remember the 70s in which we had a lot of the old strikes, and all of a sudden you'd be watching the television or reading a book or doing something, and just like that the lights would suddenly go off as the strikes happened. And this went on, I seem to remember, I was only a young person living at home with my family. It seemed to go on time after time after time and was unpredictable. Maybe you remember it a lot more. But we'd always used to go and get the candles out the cupboard and put them on. And there was something rather magical about that. We actually sort of looked forward to it. It was a shame if it interrupted a television programme. There you are watching Lost in Space or Doctor Who or Thunderbirds or something like that. And then suddenly the television goes off like that, and you think, that's a shame. But we used to have an oil-fired boiler, so that didn't stop the heating. We were very lucky, actually. And but the light, so we would always have candles, and I imagine that people still have candles somewhere. So I thought, I've got these candle holders, I hope they go in. Yes, they sort of do. And obviously I'm going to fix them in there a little bit better and see if they light, and that will be quite easy. I will fix them better in a mo. Let's just see if they light up. There we go, look, get that one going. Are you going to go? It's typical when you're filming, isn't it? Nothing quite goes to plan. There we go. Are you going to go? Yes. Not as effective, of course, a bit wobbly, I'm going to be careful of those, in daylight. However, and my little hurricane lamp here, and this is an old one. I've had this by my fire for years, never really thinking it was just a prop, and I'm sure I've used it as a prop. It says on the side here, only use paraffin. Now I've had to go and buy some paraffin. I used to use paraffin when I was a fire eater many years ago, and it was very cheap, about £3. Now for a, whatever it is, a 5 litre, 2 litre, one of those big things, it was about 10 quid. Now you fill it up with the funnel, bung in the paraffin. I've already done that. I didn't want to make a mess of my table, to be honest with you, and I'm looking down in there. Yep, there's still some fuel in, so I'm going to do that up very carefully. And we lift up this here. Let me move that out of the way. We lift up this lever to one side, which raises the glass. We take the light, the match, and underneath here we shove it in like that, and it lights the wick. There's a wick that's soaked up the paraffin, and there it is. And so now that you've got this, you should be able to, it flickers a little bit, that's me blowing directly on it. So we have candlelight and we have this light, but unfortunately we still have daylight. So let's now wait until it's dark. And it is night time. As simple as that in the magic of video. So I'm in my kitchen now, and I have 3 candles, well, 2 candles and my lantern. Now this is going to be quite tricky to light with my camera and focus, so excuse if I do go out of focus or it appears dark, because it is actually pitch black in the house. And what I'm trying to establish is not just what is it like with candles in a power cut, but what was it like back in the days before the electric light. And my initial thoughts are, of course, that we're very used to electric light. We're very much used to switching on lights when it gets dim. But people in the old days, I believe, and I was reading in Dorothy Hartley's book, This Land of England, where she talks about men from the Middle Ages, how their eyesight was probably much more acute to looking into greater distances, and because they spent so short amount of time indoors, were probably had far better night vision and were used to looking at things in lower light. And so for us, it is quite stark to be in low light situations like this and to be able to focus and see things. But I think back in the day, when this was the norm, we were probably more attuned to seeing things and recognizing things in this sort of gloom. So how much of my kitchen can I see, and how much of the house? Could I read? Could I do menial tasks like this? How would I spend an evening back in those times before electricity? It's a very strange feeling going through the house with just these very dim lights and having to set them up. Even as I just light this little sequence in my video, there's I put in a cup, a little light, a little candle there, and I don't know if you can see, it's at the foot of the stairs, and what it's showing me is there's an amazing amount of drafts in my house. You would have been aware of that if you had drafty windows, draft coming through the door, because candles are flickering all the time. So you would have needed heavy drapes, I think, to stop the draft going out. This is where these hurricane lamps are very useful, because they're obviously protected by the glass. And this candle here, hang on, let me just move it a little bit more. Actually, I'll bring it over and see if it'll show you more of the... It's not so bad here, but you can see, look, it's gutted a little bit down the side where it was stood. Let's put it back here. There's obviously a very big draft coming down the stairs. It is quite amazing. Of course, you would have had a fire. Now I've got my Essie. In an open fire situation, that would have given you a bit more light, of course. I'm going to put some logs on the Essie, and I'll see if it's not really sparking up and producing a lot of light. It would take a little bit of time, but there we go. So it's been on for a while, so it's very hot. But a little bit of light would have come out of there, but not really very much. And of course, the thing that you can't show on video very easily, of course, is I can smell the paraffin from the paraffin lamp. I can adjust the lamp, the brightness there, but if it's too high in the lamp, you get a lot of the smoke and the smut coming out, the smell, and that's not so good. And of course, you can smell the candles. It's a bit brighter now. I don't know if that's made much of a difference on my face, but it's burning beautifully. And of course, it's lovely and warm. It's very strange having candles in the house. That's one thing that I'm not really used to. Haven't done this for a long time, having naked flames in and around the house. And I'm actually quite nervous. The other thing is, as I've been filming, moving the camera, trying to focus, and I've no idea if I am in focus, so again, I apologize. And of course, I'm upping the aperture and the gain in the camera to try and get an idea of what it's like. And you know, it seems brighter in this particular shot to what it really is in real life. I mean, whether I could really read in this or do very much, it's doubtful. You'd have to have a hell of a lot more candles, that much I can tell you. So I'm a bit nervous about the candles, but my eyesight has slowly got much more used to the dark, and that goes back to what I was saying before. So I imagine people didn't do very much. You could see that the best thing you could do really is to sit around in a tavern and chat. Conversation must have been good. You could sit and do things, perhaps knitting, darning socks and that sort of thing. Stuff that is repetitive, that once you've learnt how to do it, you barely needed any light at all. But doing anything that was new and needed concentration, I think would have been very difficult. Right. Well, I'm off to bed now, so I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. It's been lovely to share my bowler hat, my new trousers, and indeed to have a look back in time to see what it was like in the old days. There'll be more of this, hopefully, this kind of stuff in the future. But for now, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, become a patron, support what I do, and I'll see you on the next one. Good night.